Kenyans, and it was done through computer-assisted telephonic interview in our call center, just the building right on my immediate right. Then this 1,700 Kenyans, adult Kenyans, was spread across the different regions based on the population census of 2019. So we start by performance rating, and we've adopted this over time, the grading system in Kenya, where the performance is, you'll see figures that pan from E to A. And I hope one time we'll report on those who score A. Apparently now, they're still in between. So we start with the overall performance of the key institutions. You can see the opposition has an overall performance of 47%. That is below average. The judiciary has a performance of 46%, again below average. Parliament, we've combined both the Senate and the National Assembly. It has a performance rating of 42%. If you take an average of these three key institutions, then we're getting an average of 45%, and it gives us a mean grade of D+. Let's go to the presidency, and that is both the President, Dr. William Ruto, and his deputy. How have they performed within the period of the 23rd to 29th of May? So our president has a mean rating of 46%, and that is a D+. If you compare it with what we released early in April, there's a slight drop of what he had last time. So the president has a score of a D. And if you check through the various, this D has been brought together by different aspects that we ask Kenyans to rate the president on. And the first thing is on the aspect of communicating communicating to Kenyans what he's doing as the president, and there you get a mean score of 48%. When it comes to the ability or the competence or ability to deliver on the assigned task to him as our head of state, he has a 47%. When it comes to addressing issues affecting us as Kenyans, he has a mean score of 45%. When it comes to the success in improving things, how things are done in his office, then he has a 44%. If you get an average of this aspect, before now, we were not looking at the key different parameters, but we thought it wise in this poll that we measure the perception of Kenyans, how they would rate the president on this aspect, and that's why he has an overall mean score of D. We move to the deputy president. Of course, the deputy president also has a mean score of D, but of course with a 4% difference between him and his boss, whereas the boss scored 46%, he has a 42% average. How does he perform in terms of communicating to Kenyans what he's doing? He has a 42% average. In terms of competency or ability to deliver on the assigned task, he has a 42%. Remember, he's been mandated to chair some subcommittees for the cabinet, and of course also does a lot of stuff. Moving on, when it comes to addressing issues affecting Kenyans, our deputy president holds a 41% mean score. And when it comes to success in improving the way things are done in the second highest office of the land, he has a 41%. So you can see they're not so different between the presidency. They're within the scale of D. So that's underperformance. We move on to the CSS. How has the CSS performed? We can report that in terms of the overall performance of the CSS, they still have that uniform number of D as their principals because they have an average of 44%, the 23 of them. But suffice to say, we can mention that the top 3 cabinet secretaries that scores a bit high, there's only one with a B, score of B, of 60%, that is Professor Kindiki of Interior. Then, of course, followed by the cabinet secretary, Honorable Babu Namwamba, who has a 51%, scoring C. Then the rest, of course, if we look at the top 3 tier, we have Honorable Eliud Owalo, a tie with the Honorable Soipan Tuya and Honorable Aden Duale. So those are the top 5, if I can mention. And of course, you can see we all go down to the least rank, who has an E, of Honorable Midhika Linturi of Agriculture, Davis Chair of Energy, Alice Waome of Land, Settlement and Housing. So those are the ones who performed a little bit below even the average for their colleagues of 44%. Of course, we still went further just to look at the various aspects as we did for the presidency, how or who was leading when it comes to communicating to Kenyans what they are doing in their ministries. But we can see still Honorable Kindiki scoring 61% mean rating, followed by Honorable Ababu Namwamba at 52, Honorable Aden Duale at 50%. So those are C and above. The rest of their colleagues, of course, score between D and E, with an average for this particular aspect of communicating to Kenyans what is happening within their ministries at 46. So it is more by 2% if you look at the overall performance. When you look at those 4 different key aspects that we're measuring, they had an overall score of 44, but now on this particular aspect of communicating to Kenyans, the average is at 46%. The other aspect that we looked into is competency, and the question we posed on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is excellent and 1 is extremely poor, how would you rate the performance of the following cabinet secretaries to the, on the following scale? Competency and ability to deliver on the assigned task or role. And you can see this one, they have a collective score of 45%. Now, who are the top 3 and who are the bottom 3? In terms of the aspect of competency, Kenyans rated still Professor Kindiki with a mean score of B, followed by Ababu Namwamba, a mean score of C, a tie in terms of grading, but of course different points, a 50% for Honorable Aden Duale at 50, then of course Honorable Soipan Tuya, 49, a tie with Honorable Eliud Owalo on this aspect of competency. Of course, you can see the figures of those that still Kenyans believe are not very competent enough in terms of the tasks assigned to them. You can see those who scored below. Moving on in terms of the success or in improving how things are done in their ministries, we have a mean score of 46, which is a D. Of course, then we have still one stellar performance of a B from Kindiki, followed by a tie of C, 3 of their colleagues scoring a mean grade of C, and that includes Honorable Babu Namwamba, Honorable Aden Duale, Eliud Owalo. You've always seen that the numbers are oscillating between Ababu, Aden, Soipan, Eliud. So those are the ones who keep on oscillating between those top 4 performers. And of course, in the bottom line, we have Honorable Midhika Davis Chirchir, Florence Bore, and Susan Wafula Nakumincha, who all are between E and D on individual ratings. So, of course, we've also done this so that you can just see how each has been performing on different aspect, on individual aspect, so that you can see where did the 60 or 52% overall mean rating on those 4 different elements, like we did for the president, the deputy president, and of course their assigned cabinet secretaries. And definitely that's what we wanted to share with you. If at all there are questions, these are the demographics of the people who participated in that survey. And